All right, forecast time now, and a spectacular weekend coming up, huh?
Yep, it's going to be a beautiful day for the Sea Wish Festival Parade. It's always a little breezy on that day. Tomorrow will be no different, and if you're going to be in the parade like we are, it'll be a little chilly standing in line, but once you get out in the sun, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to warm up nicely. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to grab your WBOC weather app for your phone if you don't have it. I'll be posting the weathercast, either this one or the one previous here in a little bit up there, and you can get that anytime if you're out and about over the weekend. Beautiful day here on Delmarva, blue skies. Yes, it was cooler, and the wind was blowing a bit as well. We had some gusts to well over 20, although the computer models forecasted us to stay below 60. You're going to see in a second, we got above 60 out there due to the sunshine all day. That's just ground clutter showing up. As a matter of fact, this is a temperature inversion that's developing, so it is going to be a chilly night. Those winds are dying down. There is some high cloudiness off to the west. We might see a little bit of that in the sky tomorrow. Some clouds around Chicago, but the winds are really blowing out on the plains tonight, and that wind will be blowing out toward the home run line at Wrigley Field tonight. 64 in Georgetown right now for the high, that is, and 64 also in Salisbury and Ocean City. Even Dover at 63. Most of the computer guidance said 58, 59. I thought we might hit 60, but 64 surprised me. We're now falling rapidly, though. Hebron's 49, 51 in Dover currently. Almost everyone in the low 50s. And look at those winds really dropping. The air is really dry, too. You can see that chilly air coming down into the east. You thought it was cool here today. It was in the 30s all afternoon in upstate New York, and there was snow in parts of New England. Out in the plains, though, record highs continue to fall, and next week you're going to see dozens of records fall. Our weather watchers tonight, right around 48 to 52 degrees. Bob Dan over in St. Michael's is 58. That's a little while ago, though. He's probably down to 52 by now. 52 at Snow Hill and at Pemberton, and 56 from Ginger and Chincoteague, 55 from Jam Many Feathers and Only. The reason our weekend is going to be so good, so great really, is this high is going to go to our south, and we'll go back to a southwest breeze tomorrow. That's a downslope wind coming down off the mountains. The air will compress as it gets pushed down to sea level, and that should warm it up. And then on Sunday, ahead of a backdoor front sneaking in from New York, we're going to have a west wind, and that should get us into the upper 70s. Now, around dark on Sunday, that front will start moving in. We might get a brief shower. Halloween Monday, a northeast wind, and the temperature will drop 18 degrees. You'll be back to a good jacket for the trick-or-treaters Monday night. So clear and chilly, 42 tonight. Tomorrow, some high clouds, 44 at 8 a.m., but by noon we jump all the way to 63. So it will be warming rapidly through the morning, and then topping out at 69. Generally a southwest wind about 10 to 20 miles an hour. Here's your Skycast for Rehoboth Beach at noon during the parade tomorrow. 63 degrees, northwest wind at 16 to 22. And if you don't like that forecast, if I blow it, I'll be there and you can tell me about it. I'll also have my dog Riley with me as usual. Here's your long range forecast, 79 on Sunday, 61 for Halloween. Then next week, above normal temperatures, but not as warm as it'll be out in the plains. Probably dry most of the time. We'll also be Facebooking live on our WBOC Facebook page through the whole parade. Todd?
All right, Dan, thanks. In Virginia Beach, one apartment complex is still one giant hurricane hangover for many who live there. They were notified just yesterday they have to be out of their damaged apartments by Sunday.
Yeah, families there say it's not enough time to find a new place or get money together to move their stuff. And as Maris Babcock reports, for one family, this could interfere with a very special day.
Mold, water damage, and ripped up floors are just some of the problems residents at the Waterside at Lynn Haven apartment complex are dealing with after Hurricane Matthew ripped through Hampton roads earlier this month.
As you can see, they've taken out the drywall in the hallway.
And now they say soon they won't even have a damaged home to go to.
Paid our full rent for October. We've been told we're not getting reimbursed for that. And that as of November 1st, we need to pay another rental payment or we need to leave.
Residents in the damaged apartments say they were notified everything had to be out of their apartments in 3 days or less. They could stay at a hotel at their own expense, relocate to a sister property 40 minutes away in Hampton, or terminate their lease entirely and find another place to live.
Coming up with security deposits and truck rentals and moving supplies, you know, you can't just pull that money out of the sky at this point.
And for one family, the timing couldn't be worse.
My mom is getting married on Saturday, so all of this was very unexpected. They tore the carpet up here. A lot of my mom's wedding stuff was up against this wall, and back here it was soaking wet, and all the wedding stuff that was against this wall got damaged.
She didn't want to use her name for privacy reasons, but she says if forced to choose between moving out or getting married on Saturday, her family isn't going to let Hurricane Matthew ruin the big day.
Now, residents say it gets even more complicated because their complex was sold on Tuesday to another leasing company. They say the old company made empty promises like prorating their rent for the days they were kicked out from the damage. And now the new leasing company isn't upholding those promises in Virginia Beach. Well, coming up in sports, University of Delaware's approach to getting a homecoming win.
And what Maryland needs to happen to become bowl eligible. Sports with Matt coming up next.
Maryland's quarterback Perry Hills is back for a second week after his injury. The University of Delaware, and they're looking to snap a 5-game losing streak, and Salisbury is looking like the powerhouse in the New Jersey Athletic Conference. For more on tomorrow's college football matchups is Crystal Rich in our Dover studio.
That was something we made an emphasis about, of just getting back to having fun, having enthusiasm for what we're doing, and they did that.
That's what Maryland's head coach DJ Durkin had to say about the Terps' W over Michigan State last week. The win preceded surprising back-to-back losses and was just the momentum Maryland needed before hitting the road again to face another Big Ten opponent, Indiana.
Indiana is a team that moves the ball effectively on just about everyone they play, and they've also really improved defensively.
Quarterback Perry Hills was back in the lineup as a starter after an injury against Penn State. Hills leads the Big Ten in completion percentage and passing efficiency. A win against the 3-4 Hoosiers would lock in their bowl eligibility.
He's playing well. He's playing quarterback. He's successful at the position right now, and I think that gives you a whole other sense of confidence, both self-confidence and then your teammates having confidence in you.
That matchup goes down tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Week 1 without former head coach Dave Brock wasn't so pretty for the University of Delaware. The Blue Hens fell 3-28 to Stony Brook at home.
The result was absolutely not the result that we wanted. We made a ton of mistakes on offense and defense.
The Blue Hens had 5 lost fumbles that put them in the hole, and they will try to correct those mistakes against Townsend on their homecoming.
We've got to get that fixed. We cannot have that problem. We run the football. We're trying to have some elements of quarterback run with Joe, because again, he's a dynamic athlete. He can throw the football, but he can also run. So we certainly don't want to not utilize his talents.
The Blue Hens will search for their first win after 5 straight losses. That game kicks off at 3:30 tomorrow. Salisbury is looking for win number 7 on the season. The Seagulls will hit the road to face Christopher Newport, who are trailing not too far behind Salisbury at 5-2. Last week, the Seagulls rushed for 457 yards and held Keene to only 71.
Montclair State's a team that can beat anyone they play, and you know, they're 4-3, and you know, they've had some great wins. They beat Rowan, you know, who was nationally ranked. They're a team that wants to kind of, you know, punch you in the nose and run the football. You know, they're a ground and pound type team.
After 4 straight wins, the Wolverines will host Montclair State. Wesley pulled out a tough win over Rowan last week and finally won the turnover battle.
Defensively, you know, they're a team that's a four-man front, and they're going to get after you. They lead our conference in sacks, so you know, we got to execute.
And DSU is still looking for win number 1 on the season. The Hornets will go on the road tomorrow to face Bethune-Cookman at 1:30 p.m.
All right, thanks, Crystal. Coming up tonight on WBOC News at 11, it's a recap of the high school football action with the final score. The big game in Maryland, North Carolina at Queen Anne's, and in Delaware. 2 undefeated teams meet when Milford visits Woodbridge.
Well, there's all sorts of great stuff to do on Delmarva for Halloween, but if you have little ones, sometimes it can be a little tricky picking out an activity that's not too scary.
That's right. This weekend, an all-new Halloween edition of Outdoors Delmarva. Captain Willie Dykes and Andrew Taws have found a creative way to solve that problem.
Well, it is Halloween once again, and Willie, I'm just wondering if you've got your costume picked out for this year.
Yep. There it is. That's about as far as I go dressing up for Halloween.
Well, just to let you know, I can hardly recognize you. And of course, Halloween is always a fun time of year, and you know that I have 3 young boys, and we're always looking for something fun to do this time of year.
Well, I might have the answer for you, Andrew. It's a family-friendly event held right here on Delmarva. Not too scary for the young kids, and the big attraction here is the amount of creativity that's on display.
Hey, have you seen Willie?
It all takes place at historic Pemberton Park in Wicomico County. It's about an hour or so before dusk, and the folks are headed to the woods to put the finishing touches on their creations.
Well, tonight's our second annual Pemberton Pumpkin Tour. It's a community event, pretty cheap for people to come in, $10 per carload. Basically, it's the community comes together, all these different organizations, families, groups, a lot of school classes come in. They carve pumpkins, big displays, put it out on the trails. Everybody gets to come through, they get to vote on their favorite pumpkin, spookiest pumpkin, best overall. It's a real kind of community bonding event, so what makes this special is the community coming together and putting out their artistic and creative abilities.
To see the full story and more, tune in to Outdoors Delmarva Saturday night at 7:30 and 11:30 on WBOC.
Well, if you want to take that boat out one more time before it starts to get a little too chilly, this may not be a bad weekend. It'll be a bit bumpy in the Atlantic, 10 to 20 knot winds, a sunny day, the winds out of the west on Sunday. On the Chesapeake Bay, though, 1 to 2 foot waves, most of the time the wind 10 to 15 knots, although it might get a bit gusty in the afternoon hours. And on the Delaware Bay, that's going to be a bit bumpy. A southwest wind 10 to 20 knots, seas there at 2 to 3 feet, although better on the upper bay. The high tides this evening look this way. We're in high tide right now on the beaches, 6:34 at Ocean City in the morning, 7:30 at Rehoboth Beach will be high tide. And up on the Delaware Bay, water temp 63, high tide 9:10 in the morning at Bowers Beach. And on the Chesapeake, high tide at Cherry Island, 3:12 a.m. and just after midnight tonight at Crisfield. Water's getting a little chilly though at 59. Your top stories on a Friday coming right up.
Let's have a look at today's top stories.
Yeah, everything you need to know to get caught up from today. Well, the FBI will be taking a second look into Hillary Clinton's private email server. In a letter to Congress, FBI Director James Comey said the emails resurfaced in the reported Anthony Weiner sexting scandal and may be, quote, pertinent to the investigation.
A judge sentenced 45-year-old Travis Jones of Salisbury to a total of 50 years for first-degree child abuse resulting in death and manslaughter. EMS responded to Jones' Salisbury home in July of last year for a report of an unresponsive 2.5-year-old boy who later died at the hospital.
Those opposed to a chicken house project in Wacomico County believe the health department did not examine all the potential health impacts of the project. Researchers at Johns Hopkins Center for a Livable Future say there are flaws in the process of the health impact assessment the health department did, and they're calling for a new one.
Protests over a controversial oil pipeline turned violent in North Dakota. The governor called in the National Guard. 141 people were arrested. That controversy is over a 1,200-mile pipeline that would carry crude oil from North Dakota to Illinois.
A fire broke out on an American Airlines flight as it was leaving O'Hare International Airport. The problem began with the tire blowing out, and takeoff was initially aborted due to an engine-related mechanical issue. Passengers got off the plane safely.
Bill Cosby's defense attorneys are reporting he is legally blind. They filed a motion saying it could hinder his ability to defend himself at trial. Cosby is facing 3 charges of felony indecent assault in Pennsylvania.
And those are today's top stories for the day.
All right, Chief Meteorologist Dan Satterfield has some good news for the weekend. Dan?
Sure do. It's going to be a beautiful day on Saturday, 68, 69 degrees in the afternoon. Some sunshine with just a few wispy high clouds. Even warmer on Sunday. The temperature on Sunday about 14 degrees, maybe 15 degrees above normal. It will turn cooler Sunday night. Halloween will feel more like November. And by Tuesday, it will be November, but temperatures next week will be a bit above average for this time of the year. The nights will be clear and cool. I'd say temperatures probably, though, will be in the low 50s for trick or treat Monday night.
All right, Dan, sounds good. Thanks for that. And thanks to you for watching here tonight at 7. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can get it now on WBOC.com.
Stay tuned for the latest in news, weather, and sports coming up on the WBOC News at 11. Till then, have a great night.